Hello, Tracy here with another scrapbooking process video. Today I'm going to be sharing with you one half page in my Cuba book. This is a pocket scrapbooking project that I'm doing about my recent trip to Cuba. So as usual, I am starting with these cardstock templates. I have a bunch of photos here that I have categorized for basically according to what kinds of stories I want to tell. And this time I'm telling a story all about the days that we spent at the pool. So these photos were taken across multiple days of basically the same setting. And I'm not really thinking too much about the chronology of it all. I just want to capture some images of us at the pool and what it looked like and what things we were doing there and so on and so forth. So I have some embellishments here that I think will work really well with a pool page, with a pool themed page. And at this point, I don't know how big this page is going to be. I'm assuming it's going to go across both sides of this spread, but it turns out that a lot of the photos that I had printed up were duplicates or really, really similar photos. I'm not sure. I didn't do a great job of printing photos this time. I'm usually better at that, but this time I printed up a whole bunch of photos that I ended up having to reprint and a whole bunch that I wasn't going to use. So you can see that most of my 4x6 photos there have bands on the tops and the bottoms. That's because I printed them with the fit setting and they were printed at the wrong aspect ratio. I was taking all my photos on my phone on the 16:9 aspect ratio, which leaves them little bands like that. So I just reprinted them with the the fill option, and that fills up a 4x6 page, a 4x6 print. And you do just have to make sure that it's, pardon me, that it is cropping the proper way when you do that. And so I just reprinted all of those photos. And now I'm realizing that once I kind of hone it down to the photos that I really wanted to include, I'm also going to change the size of some of them. So you can see I printed up, it was just too repetitive to have a whole bunch of 4x6s, all that same of a very similar setting. And so I just printed up some of them at 2x3, which is my favorite smaller size to print a horizontal photo. And even with those ones added in, it's really not looking like this is going to necessarily take up 2 pages. So I'm thinking here that this pool page might end up being only 1/2 of a spread instead of a whole spread. I do have these other tall, thin photos. Again, that is part of printing or taking my photos at that wrong aspect ratio. I ended up with a whole bunch of tall, thin photos that were difficult for me to use as well. So I'm just playing around here with the idea of potentially having an insert. I thought maybe I might have this go across 1.5 pages. And I am live streaming as I do this. I'm live streaming with my Patreons, which is something I do once a month. And so if you're interested in checking out a live stream, check out my Patreon. And there's more information on how to join. So here I am thinking that this is the way that this layout is going to look. That leaves me lots of space for journaling and for some filler cards. And I really want this page to have a fun and vibrant feel to it with lots of bright blues, which obviously are included in the photos anyways. And then where I have a few hits of orange and red already, both in the P for the word pool on that rubber piece, and also my dress that you can see under my legs, under my book, under my Kindle in my lap. And so I'm feeling like blue with pops of red and orange and maybe some yellow is going to be my main color scheme here. Basically just taking from the photos. So I am looking in my stash here because I have organized some of my stash into almost monthly, but really bi-monthly kits. I didn't want to have 12 categories, so I just stuck 2 months together. So I was just looking at my July, August supplies there just to see if there was anything summery, sunshiny in my pockets, in my pocket cards that I might want to use up. I also have pulled out all of these supplies that I did go over in an earlier page, in my very first page about my Cuba trip, so I listed most of the supplies that I'm using here. But I have this is the Photo Play Summer Daydreaming collection, or Summer Daydreams collection. And I have some Fancy Pants Poolside collection, which is what that rubber piece with the pool is from, and all of these beautiful, oh my goodness, I love 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 these pattern papers. So I really like this one with these vintage illustrations of people in a pool. Well, it's actually people in a beach because there are sharks among the swimmers, but I really really love that paper, so I wanted to use it. And then this looks like a pool, and I thought that the pool paperclip here, I was pretty sure I wasn't going to use the paperclip part of it, but I just wanted to play around with potentially keeping the paperclip part of it. But typically what I do with those rubber paper clips is I cut the paperclip right off and just use it as a plain rubber piece. I really like this pattern paper too, and it has that raspberry red color that I'm using on all of these pages, so that picks up on the red in my dress as well. And then a couple of, just looking through some of my already cut cards. Those were cards that I just cut up from this patterned paper. And I'll cut another piece of this wave paper here. This is from the Fancy Pants Poolside collection. I like that it has those waves on it, so I'll put that someplace. There's also that speech bubble paper that says Marco and Polo all over it, so that's a great one for the pool as well. So what I'm doing here is I took out my X-Acto knife and I am just basically very carefully cutting the paperclip off of the back of this rubber piece. And while I'm at it, I'll just cut it off of this one as well. I'm not sure that I'm going to use this, and I don't know where I'll use it if I do, but I'm pretty sure I won't want the paperclip on it. I typically don't, so. And so back to cutting that off, just cut it very carefully. It comes off pretty well if you have a nice sharp blade, so and it leaves very little residue behind, so that is good. So now I have these two pieces that have been freed from their paper clips, and I love that pool title there, so I'm going to put that right above that photo. And what I'd like it to say is Pool Days. And so I have these raspberry letter thickers. I think they're called Delight. And I'm just going to use some Tombow Mono Multi adhesive to glue that pool rubber piece onto my card here. And then I'm going to use my thicker alignment tool, which is really just a ruler with grid and lines on it. And I'm going to spell out the word days because I have another page that says beach days. So I thought it would be pretty cool to put another one here that says pool days, because we had beach days and we had pool days depending on how windy it was. We went to the pool on days when it was super windy. So now what I would like to do is just to make the word days stand out a little bit. You can see how you can definitely read that it says days, but my legs behind the word days is causing a little bit of legibility issue. And it's just like the letter days, the letters in the word day are not standing out the way that I would like them to. So I have a little sample sheet there, as you can see, of what all of my different white markers and pens look like on black. And so I just chose a really bright white, and this one actually wasn't a sample because I hadn't opened it yet. This is my white Posca pen. And that's been in my stash for a very, very long time, replacing an old white Posca pen that I used up when I was art journaling. And so I'm just going to doodle all the way around the word days. And as you can see, that just helps it to stand out a little bit against that background. And one thing I could do is I could make that even more bold, and then I could also color in the dark spaces so that it looks like it's the whole word is on a white shadow. But I just decided to do outlining this time. On the paper, I'm going back and I'm outlining again with a white souffle gel pen, and that is from Sakura. And that's because the white Posca pen was bleeding into the paper a little bit too much, so it wasn't staying as bold as I would have liked it to be. So, and also that gel pen wasn't giving me as much boldness as I wanted either. So I went into my stash and got a white Signo gel pen. This is one of my favorite gel pens. I have a love-hate relationship with this, but it certainly is bold, as you can see. So that's why I grabbed it. The one in my stash had dried up, so I just grabbed a new one. I buy them in sets of 3 from Amazon, and so that's why I have so many in my stash. So that gives me a bit more of the boldness that I'm looking for, but I also wanted to just do a little bit of blue outlining around the photo itself, just so that that photo also stands out on the page a little bit more. And then I will also just matte this whole thing on navy blue, just to give it a little bit more substance. So it was just feeling a little bit not structured enough. So that's why I'm going to cut a 4x6 piece of this navy blue cardstock from my stash. And I don't know what brand this cardstock is because it's very, very old and it's from my stash. It could be Stampin' Up. And so there, see how that matting just makes that card much, much more substantial on the page. And where it is my title for the page, I wanted it to really grab your attention. And so next, I'm going to make a little filler card here with this Marco Polo paper. And I'm going to mirror the same thing that I did with the Pool Days card, which is do a little bit of matting here with, and here I am really skimping. So I'm going to do a little bit of matting with the scraps from that navy blue paper. And in order to do that, I'm just going to hold it together with a piece of washi tape, and then I'm going to cut it down to 3x4 so that it will fit in the pocket. And then as you can see, I had already skimmed down a little bit off of 2 adjacent sides of the Marco Polo paper. And then that Marco Polo paper will then hold together those 2 pieces. I mean, it's held together by washi tape on the back, but it's not going anywhere. Then I just added that rubber piece, and then that's enough for that one. I do want that piece, because there are 2 rubber pieces on this page, I want the Pool Days card to be as far away from the Marco Polo card as possible, just to give myself a little bit of separation. So I don't have 2 rubber pieces right beside each other, because they do add a lot of interest and detail to a page, and so I want them to be spread out. I have that fun acrylic piece in yellow. I have it in yellow and I also have it in blue. Those are from a long time ago from the Scraptastic Kit Club. So I'm going to put one on each of my 4x6 photos here of the beach. And for this photo, I'm just going to add it to this piece of background paper with the floaties in the pool. And I'm going to journal on this photo. Now, this is not a very interesting or good photo, but I took it. I tried to be mindful about taking photos just like this around my vacation, just so that I would have some empty spaces to add some journaling. And basically, I'm considering these blank photos with open spaces on them to be almost like a customized journaling card. So instead of grabbing a card that has lines on it, I can take this card and put lines in the water, and then instead of just some generic, vacation vibes or something on the top, it has actual photos of the actual plants that were around the actual pool that we were at. So it's a much more meaningful form of a journaling card or a little journaling bit than using some supply that American Crafts made or something, right? So that was my thought process. And I tried to take several photos like that around the resort just so that I'd have some options. And you will see that come up again and again in these pages. I'm using my Tombow Mono Multi adhesive to glue these acrylic pieces to the photo. I love that adhesive for gluing non-paper to paper products. And those little acrylic pieces do have a little plastic piece that just protects them from being scratched. So whenever you're using acrylic, just make sure that you check and see whether it has one of those little pieces of plastic to pull off or not, because some do and some don't. And it's okay to leave it on. Sometimes I do leave that little piece of plastic on purpose because it actually helps you to, it gives your acrylic piece sometimes more of a matte look, and sometimes I actually want it to have that matte look. So I'm just pulling out a sticker there. It says Fun in the Sun. It's a piece of chipboard. And then this Sunshine is another piece of chipboard from that photo play collection. I think it's called Summer Dreams or Summer Daydreams. So that's looking pretty good so far. I'm thinking a pinwheel might be a good embellishment to use here because it was so windy, but the pinwheel is going to blend in too much. I'm looking for something to put on that piece of paper with the illustrations on it. So I decided to use this big giant embellishment because, and I was asking the Magic 8 Ball if I should use that or not. I decided to use it because the artwork is the same style as the artwork that's already on the card. And it's something that is big and kind of gives that card a focal point, but it doesn't take away from the artwork that I was really trying to showcase by using that card in the first place. And so what I've decided to do here is use that card in a lift the flap type of a situation. So I have these, I call them flippity flaps, but they're called photo flaps, I think, from Snap by Simple Stories. And I have them in 3x4 and 4x6 sizes because those are the sizes I use the most. And so I'm going to put two things underneath of it. So one thing will be directly in the same pocket, and then there will be a blank space underneath of that. So I'm just using this patterned paper here that I cut down to 3x4 with the suns on it, and I cut off an embellishment from another card that says today was, and then you can choose different options, and I just ticked off epic. And then what I'm going to do here is an assortment of embellishments that I'm going to create from stamps. And I'm doing this because there were no embellishments that I already had that were exactly relevant to the journaling that I wanted to do here. So my journaling here that I'm just writing on the red and pink stripes, I'm just writing it on the pink stripes and then skipping each red one. It says, we preferred the beach over the pool, but it was pretty windy during most of our stay. We spent the first 3 days on the beach. Playing in the huge waves was fun, but a bit too much for poor Sophie with her mono. So the 4th and 5th days we spent at the pool. It was calmer on day 6, so we returned to the beach. Scott saw a barracuda. Yeah, he did see a barracuda very close to him in the water. And I just like to not think about that. So I'm not sure why I put it in my project life. It kind of makes me never want to go there again, but of course I will. I'm going to underline my journaling. And there we go. So that one is done, and that will go inside of the flip the flap. And it was just feeling like it was a little intense, like a lot of journaling in a small space. So I'm just adding a little tiny strip of washi tape, just a little half strip there. And it just breaks up the monotony of that card. Now I do want to put a little indicator here that you should lift this flap. And so I've done this for other pages in this project already. I'm using this Push Me Lawn Fawn stamp set and die set. And because I've used this so many times already, I thought I might as well just stamp a whole bunch of these. And then I'm not going to necessarily cut them all out, but I'll at least get the ball rolling on getting the stamping done for these. I'll just cut one out for this use, and then I'll stick all of those extra ones right in the pocket with the stamp set and the die set, so that the next time I want a lift the flap, I'll have more of them stamped in the same paper, because I'm pretty sure that subsequent pages are going to use these flaps in the same project. I'm using my little Cuddle kit here. It's just my small die cut machine. So I like to use it for project life. Anything that'll fit in it, I prefer using the Cuddle Kid. So I want to put this on the card, and I want to put it on the outside, and I decided to just I decided to just staple it. And you just want to make sure before you staple anything, obviously, that you're finished with the inside of the card, because once it's stapled, you're not going to be able to pull out the card anymore. So I just did a double check there and decided, yep, I'm ready to staple it. So, and that way it kind of hangs off the flap a little bit as well. So I really like how that looks. Now I just pulled out a piece of scrap paper. It's not the greatest quality paper in the world. I think it's my color box, so it's actually quite low quality paper, but these images stamped really well anyways. I'm using Stampin' Up inks in Bermuda Bay, and I think it's Melon Mambo is the pink color, and I'm also going to use Night of Navy. And some of these stamps I was pretty sure I might need to stamp multiple times, so I pulled out my MISTI tool so that just in case I have to restamp, I'm able to do so. I had to condition it there with either my finger or an eraser, and yeah, I am going to multi-stamp this just to get a nice solid stamp here. This pink one says "To the Beach" with an arrow. And the reason I'm putting "to the beach" on a pool page is that the journaling talks about how some days we went to the beach and some days we went to the pool. So this little collection of stamps that I'm going to put together as a little cluster of embellishments is going to include pool and ocean as well. So I'm just grabbing my Night of Navy ink. Oh, that looks so nice. I love that color. And those are Stampin' Up inks. So I've got one that says "The ocean is calling and I must go," and then one says "To the beach," and then the other one says "Poolside." Now, I did not want to hand cut around the word, that circle stamp, and I was pretty sure that I had something that wasn't one of these three. So none of these three are the right sizes. And I knew I had another circle punch. I just could not find it, even though it was right there I keep all my punches in a Rascog. There it is. I knew that one would fit because it's right between two of the others. So there, that one fit. I think that is the one that is a weird size. I think it is 1 7/16 or something. I'll hand cut the other ones. And this one is just a rounded rectangle. I could have just cut it square and then used a corner rounder to round the corners, but it's easy enough to just round those off with your scissors if you're cutting it out already. So I'm going to use those as embellishments, and I just have to figure out how I want them layered. That's how I want them. So I'm going to use pop dots on the circle one just to pop it up off the page a little bit. That also gives a little bit of bulk underneath of this flip the flap. So it makes the flap almost flip a little bit easier. So those are Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesive, and that's how that one looks. Oh, I really like how that turned out. So now I don't have any official photos of this one, but I do have this screenshot of it zoomed in a little bit. So I hope that you enjoyed this page. Just a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters. These folks help make this channel happen. So great big thanks to all of them. And thanks to you for watching all the way to the end. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. And until next time, have a really great scrappy week.